Okay, another second thought video. This one's kind of older, 6 months ago. Can there be innovation under socialism? This is a question a lot of people have, and I think it's a relatively valid one. It's a question that I have. To a certain extent, I think there are reasonable answers that I've heard, but I'm curious to hear what this video is about. To a lot of people, innovation comes from like the profit motive of capitalism. The way capitalism breeds innovation is if you innovate or create something that people want to buy, you will get a lot of money. And that is the incentive. That is the carrot at the end of the stick. So like you invent something cool, you'll get a lot of money, and you can escape the horrible capitalist, grind. That's your prize for innovating under capitalism. I don't think that that's necessarily a requirement, or a good one. If your system is, innovate or die, innovate or live in poverty, that's not a good system. I don't care how many innovations you get. That's not a good system, in my opinion. I think you can have innovation with much better conditions. But it is a question a lot of people have. Like, if your basic needs are met, you don't have to worry about food, housing, things like that you currently have to worry about under capitalism. Why would you take the time to, innovate something new if your needs are met? Because again, under capitalism, your needs being met is a carrot at the end of a stick. And that's not a healthy system, in my opinion, regardless of the innovation.
You've probably been told something along the lines of, socialism does sound good in theory, but in practice, without the guiding hand of the profit motive, there would simply be no incentive to innovate. Sure,
So that is kind of what I said. The profit motive is the carrot dangling at the end of the stick that tells you if you want to escape this rat race, invent something. Not healthy, in my opinion. Maybe, and I even though if you want to concede that it does lead to some amount of innovation, I don't think it's a healthy system.
But the reality is that innovation
Bernie.
is not only consistently stifled under capitalism, there is no reason to think it wouldn't flourish under socialism. In fact, there's plenty of evidence that it would. But before we get to that, let's briefly touch on innovation under our current system. Advocate for socialism on an Apple device makes you a hypocrite ripe for an Elon Musk Twitter takedown.
What? What a gigantic piece of shit, dude.
But thanks to the funding and/or direct involvement of governments in the creative process. Same goes for the GPS, voice recognition software, cell networks, and HTTP and HTML protocols that together make an iPhone an iPhone. All of these things exist thanks to the innovation that happened without price signals, without market competition, and most importantly, without private capital. Some innovations that support the capitalist economy even come from completely voluntary, non-government funded, and entirely unpaid work done by brilliant people who just wanted to do something one day and did.
I think that's a really good point. The idea that there are lots of people who just want to do something, who want to create, who are self-motivated. And I think there are probably countless millions, if not billions of people who have been stifled because of capitalism, because of the way our, economics work that requires significant amounts of people to live in terrible conditions and in poverty. The vast majority of people on Earth live in pretty not great living conditions. I think that's safe to say. And this is a direct result of the capitalist, as a Marxist would put it, the capitalist mode of production, I would say, personally. And so if we were to elevate those people out of their terrible living conditions into a more, closer to what people see in like the United States or Western Europe, how many more millions or billions of people would be there to innovate, to create, to grow, to create art, to become engineers, scientists, computer scientists, whatever? How many of them would want to do that? Doctors. How many of them want to do that? But they can't because their boot of capitalism is on their neck every day of their lives for generations. So if we were to lift that boot and uplift those people, we would have that many more millions and billions of creators and innovators. But that is a long-term project. That is a medium to long-term project. And capitalism exists in the short term. It exists between now and the end of next quarter. So we can't do those things. But I think it would be good for humanity in the long run to achieve parity in regard to equality of opportunity.
Capitalism naturally tends towards monopolies. It's just what happens in a winner-takes-all competition. Eventually, the winners do take all.
That is a very good point. And like anyone will tell you, or hopefully will tell you, that monopolies are bad for innovation. And capitalism without public regulation will always, and this is like, I don't typically like to go black and white with issues like capitalism will always do this, capitalism will always do that. I usually don't. But when it comes to unregulated free markets, they will always tend to monopoly. Period. That is a fundamental aspect of how it works. Maybe you can have a system of capitalism that functions and people aren't exploited. Fine. I'm open to that. Maybe you can. But not a free market. There is no way a free market can result in ethical, conditions for people. Or ethical market conditions. It will always lead to monopoly without public regulation. And then even when you have some public regulation, unless you have significantly more, it will lead to oligopoly, which we were currently seeing, including monopoly. We still see monopolies, even like in the United States, our economic system. So yeah, Second Thought's bringing up a very good point here.
But even in the fantasy world defenders of capitalism live in, where monopolies do not naturally come to dominate the economy.
Oh, they do. Do defenders of capitalism say that? How can you say that as a defender of capitalism? If you're watching this and you are a defender of capitalism, explain your argument as to why you think with unregulated capitalism, monopolies won't naturally form. That is an absurd notion to me. Even if you're in defense of capitalism, you have to also be in defense of public regulation to prevent those monopolies from occurring. I mean, come on, that has to be a no-brainer, even if you're defending capitalism. Because otherwise, you're not a serious person.
Capitalism only promotes and actively incentivizes innovation that turns a profit. Any innovation, no matter how grand,
it's another good
no
point.
matter how many millions of lives it could save, only sees the light of day if it can provide a good return on investment.
Dude, he is spitting this. This whole video is like non-stop spitting. So why is this one of his least viewed videos? I don't understand. This is a really good video so far, especially for someone like me who's, still learning about socialism. This is like really good stuff.
For example, instead of finding ways to make the most durable, long-lasting battery humanly possible, every phone and laptop manufacturer makes batteries that can't handle more than a few years of regular use.
Very good point. And this is due to the profit motive. We are literally stifling innovation, stifling our products. We're creating worse products with like what he's describing here, the planned obsolescence, because of capitalism, because of the profit motive. That's a really good point that he's bringing up.
Only an infinitely lucky few will ever have the opportunity to showcase their talent as part of their job. And so an insane amount of innovative capacity just goes completely to waste. It's truly mind-boggling to imagine how many people just as smart as Einstein spend their entire lives just barely scraping by and toiling away to have their basic needs met instead of having the freedom to put their genius to work. But even that barely scratches the surface. Think of how many billions of people could have their skills and talents developed by access to higher education. And the kinds of things they would come up with that would benefit us all.
Yes.
But it's not profitable to make education freely accessible, so I guess never mind. And that's not all. And there is nothing about capitalist markets that make them good at incentivizing this. It's all just people. There's no need to have private property for innovation. It's just what people do. Isms do not create things. Workers do. Isms only decide who gets paid.
Damn.
I mentioned at the beginning of this video.
Talk about a mic drop. That was good. No, this was a really, really fucking good video. One of the best I've seen from Second Thought.